Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Helpshift 2023 Product Sneak Peek. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're still a little bit early. People are joining right now. However, if you do have a question, then now would be a great time to get those in the Q&A. We'll have several people online who will be answering them throughout the session, especially if there's something specific that you would like us to talk to. My name is Eric Ashby. I'll be hosting this, and they'll have a few other speakers. But right now, we're all going to be on mute for about another 60 seconds while others join us. So thank you very much for joining. Just a real quick check on the audio. Would the attendees please just raise your hand if you can hear us okay, and if the audio is coming through? That would just help us. And like I said, we'll be starting here in about 60 seconds. Thank you for raising your hands, and do take some time to think about what Q&A you might have, and you can add those while we're waiting to start. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today with Helpshift's 2023 Product Sneak Peek. I am Eric Ashby, Head of Product. I'll be doing the introduction and then working with a couple of my colleagues. In fact, if you could go on to the next screen, please. First off, thanks to a lot of the people who have been helping out. There's a lot of people that have been behind the scenes and things like that. But would like to thank Jason and Jackie, who are actually here working with, that they're providing us support. Jason is our customer success manager. He'll be talking about some of the recent additions that we've had to the product. And Jackie is our lead product marketing manager. Also, she'll be talking about some of the features that have recently come out. And of course, I'm Eric Ashby, Head of Product, and I'll be giving an introduction to our product, some of the new things that are coming out, and also some of kind of the strategy behind what we're doing and why we're doing that. And so if we could move forward, and we'll take a look at the agenda. I'm going to give a little bit of the product vision. Then we're going to jump into taking a look at SDK 10.2. Now, this is our latest SDK that came out, and it has some pretty incredible features, some of which have been adopted by a number of customers, and we're going to talk about those. Jason's going to talk about Smart FAQ and feedback bots, and Jackie's going to talk about how we're also expanding into QR code for console, and then some of the new capabilities with outbound support. And then I'm going to jump in and share some of the new things that we're working on, some exciting things that are coming down the path. Now, I am super excited about sharing this. I call this the product parade, because we get to show off all of these things. It's one of my favorite webinars to give. So why don't we jump in, just talk a little bit about the product vision. And as we've been looking this last year, last few years, about where the industry is going. And there definitely has been some changes in the industry. Several years ago, as Helpshift was growing, we really we were known in the market as the mobile first customer service tool. And we all have always been mobile first. That's where we are. But what we have found is that a lot of the applications that are mobile first are expanding and are on these other systems, especially in the gaming community. You'll often find a game that's on the mobile, on the web, on PCs, on consoles, and other things. And even other like fintech and other applications, they'll have all of these experiences that are on these other places. And so as we look to the future, consumers want to get support where they interact. It's a little different than an omni-channel strategy, which is all about saying, oh, we'll let them talk to us, on any channel. Where they interact is where are they spending their time to engage with you as a brand. And so we are looking to be able to support them across all of these places. Now, in addition to supporting them, you want to keep them happy with good, friendly interfaces, making sure that they feel like they're talking to a human, that they're feeling that it's friendly, that the interface is really good, and leveraging things like ChatGPT or the AI, generative AI, to really make it feel human-like. And when you get into some of these other things like virtual reality, being able to have VRs and avatars and things like that. Consumers expect to be treated special. They want to have it personalized. And you'll see some of the features that we talk about today that really show how you can automatically create these personalized experiences. And this is especially important for VIPs. They're expecting a human touch. And one of the things that we'll be talking about is live messaging, being able to go from a asynchronous to a live conversation, which is really important to be able to say, like, look, we understand you're a human, you have some of these needs, and you want to be able to do that. In addition to being able to treat them like a human, you want to respect their time so that the support is always there when they want it. It's on the consumer's time. It's not on the brand's time, and that's what you want to be. And respecting their culture with being able to have a way that you can always communicate them in any language, regardless of how your language that your agent speaks, and always keeping them engaged. And then we'll talk about proactive support. So this is what we're building, is really this next generation support that brings all of this together. And how we present this, if you can go on the next screen, we present this through what we call the modern support journey. And this is really just a logical journey for how a consumer would walk through this experience. So they always start with the self-help, where they can get help, where they can go in and find things themselves. But if they want to elevate that to a conversation, then AI will step in and help understand what their intent is and provide instant recommendations. And we're seeing this more now that generative AI is coming in. You'll see these recommendations come from generative AI. They may have a problem that has a known workflow, and so a guided bot can work them through it, or they may need human interaction, so an agent would help them out. And then they should be able to also always end with feedback so that you understand exactly how well this journey is. So this is how we present all of these features. Now, of course, this is backed by a powerful platform. Please go on the next slide. And this is where you see our full platform here, where we have at the top all of the experiences across PC, web, mobile, console, VR, and of course all the social channels. We'll be talking about those. That's all backed by our AI multilingual support platform. This is where you have the bots and the AI knowledge base and now starting this year with the translation services that we have with Helpshift translations that allows agents to automatically translate messages coming in and out of the system. And then, of course, this is all backed by the human tools, the Helpshift agents, and the human services that we have now with Keyword Studios, now that we're part of the player support services and keywords. So this gives you a background. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I really want to dive into the product. And so with that, we're gonna first start off by taking a look at SDK 10.2. Now, this came out at the end of last year. A lot of brands have been moving up to it, but this is where when we moved on to the SDK 10 series, the whole idea was that we could rapidly innovate because we could bring new features to the mobile apps and to the experiences without having to deploy a brand new SDK. And you've seen that with 10.2. A number of features have come out since 10.2 is released without having to upgrade the SDK. And so with that, I'm going to now hand over to Jason, and he'll talk about one of these first features, which is called the Smart FAQs. And this has been a phenomenal feature. We've seen a lot of brands that have been picking this up and really getting a lot of value out of it. So Jason, thank you very much for taking the time to talk about this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Smart FAQs. Move on to the next slide, please. Essentially, like the whole point of Smart FAQs was, as Eric showed in the modern support journey, customers are going to be going to the self-service first. They're going to check out the help center. They're going to search for a solution to their problem, and hopefully they find one there. But we know not a lot of issues are solved by information. Sometimes an agent does have to get involved and do something to help the customer out. But instead of Help Center becoming a dead end where customers go into an FAQ and then realize they have to contact support and then figure out how to contact support, we decided it would be a good idea to just allow them to immediately get the assistance they need pertaining to the exact problem on the FAQ that they're on. So essentially what it does is it allows you to place a button, a contact us button on any of your FAQs, which is then linked to a specific form where the user can fill out all the information, provide attachments, anything that the agent or the bot is going to need in order to be able to solve this customer's problem. Next slide, please. So some of the challenges kind of clued into some of these already, but a lot of the challenges and motivations for why we wanted to do this feature was that there's a lot of frustration around some types of issues that we noticed. The most common example being, they lost their account that they had signed up with and were playing on because they still used the free account and they hadn't linked it to social media or created a branded account, for example. We noticed a lot of the players end up quitting and then they don't come back, right? They might look at FAQs, figure out, maybe some way that they might be able to do it, but it tells you got to go contact support. And a lot of the players just never did. They would rather just move on to another game where, they don't have to go through that process, right? So really it was about being able to target those specific issues so that you can get that customer right away, get them in front of help as quickly as possible before they even can think about wanting to go play a different game or to give up, right? Another bit of it is that, some issues are complex enough that, the customer may forget all the details, or at least some of the important ones that the agent needs by the time they get to an agent. With asynchronous messaging, when an agent gets a ticket, sees the customer's conversation, will reply to it, it might not be a few hours. The customer could be busy, they could be at work or doing something else, and it might be some time before they get back to the agent with that information. So that's one of the challenges that we were trying to solve, is just reduce all that time, get the customer, to submit all the information they need right when it's fresh and get them in front of an agent that can then take that information and use it to solve their problem. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. This is what it looks like. I just wanted to show a couple of screenshots here. This is what it looks like from the customer's perspective. There's going to be there's a report login failure button on the bottom of this FAQ here as an example. On the right, you can see it's using our bot builder. This is where you're actually able to create the workflow for the form that will then be put into the issue when it's created. Right now, it does only create forms, but just to tease a little bit for something that comes later in this webinar, Eric's going to be talking about it, but a lot more functionality is coming to this bot builder specifically. So we'll get to see a little bit more about that later. Next slide. Some of the benefits that we've seen as a result of this, we've seen CSAT go up. We've seen, time to resolve get lowered. We've seen an influx in important issues that could result in churning players. More people are contacting about those problems and getting help and getting back into the game, right? It's just a smoother experience. Like I said before, they don't have to back out and then figure out how to contact support. It just removes that unnecessary step and gets them right into the support that they need. Next slide, please. So I have a couple of use cases. I'm not going to go too heavy into these, but I have two in mind that I've actually seen quite often. I've helped a lot of customers implement similar Smart FAQs to this. I was talking about the lost progress or lost game account. That is a hugely important issue. People can't find their game progress, and it's not likely they're going to continue playing, right? Support team can usually assist in recovering lost accounts, but we need to know a lot of stuff. We need to know a lot of information to be able to locate their account and verify that they're actually the owner, right? So, that was one of the most common ones. I have some data on the next slide that will kind of showcase some results we have with the customer that did exactly that. But the other use cases for technical support, I mean, I'm sure we all understand that technical support can be quite a grab bag of different problems, right? You could have multiple problems that all have different solutions because they're just different, different systems to a similar problem. So it's really important to get all of that information, right? If you have a user going through a technical support article, it could be quite heavy with content, a lot of instructions, maybe perhaps a little confusing. At the bottom, they'll be able to get support and it'll ask questions that the customer is going to need to provide in order for your agent to solve it. It can also bring in attachments if you're going to need maybe some system files to get a good look at if it's a PC game, for example. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much that can be done there, and it's a really good idea to target these use cases where it's really going to just lessen the amount of effort that the user would need in order to get support for their problem. Next slide, please. So this was a case study we did last year, but I think it highlights exactly what we were expecting from this feature. They targeted specifically the lost game progress. They had done some numbers. We analyzed that about 66% of players affected by this did not report their lost progress. And so they just never came back and they never logged in again, right? When they launched this feature, it spiked up and they got an initial influx of these issues. But as you can see, it normalized. They were able to, implement some processes to be able to handle that new volume, and they got it back down to a normalized spot. But it's a pretty clear difference that before, not many people were actually getting their accounts recovered. And after this feature was launched, it became much easier, and they started seeing more and more customers that they were able to save as a result. And then some time to resolve hours, you can kind of see the pretty clear difference in speed. It's simply due to the fact that, in some cases, the agent is going to have to ask additional questions to solve it, and that leads to longer resolution time. So the little table there you see is the time to resolve scores for issues that did not use a Smart FAQ for lost progress. And then the Smart FAQ column is for the issues that did get submitted through that. And as you can see, they're usually like an hour or two faster. Okay, I think we're done with the Smart FAQs now. So we can move on to feedback bots. The next slide on here is going to be a very large image. I don't want to scare everybody with it, but we're not going to go through all of this in detail. This is a like a demo bot that we built in order to showcase a lot of the really cool and unique things that feedback bots can do. I think, we all know what feedback bots are. You're able to segment and create different feedback experiences that allow you to ask very specific or pointed questions to individuals that have specific problems, or maybe perhaps they're a VIP, or really anything else you can think of that if there's some targeted information you would like to get, your feedback bot are going to be able to do that for you. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide real quick. I wanted to show some of what this really does, right? So the feedback in this bot happens in three phases. We're going to confirm whether or not the issue was resolved, and we give the player a number of different choices to talk about how they feel their issue was resolved. And then it's moving on to rating the app, giving them some options to tell the company how they feel about the app, and then have an opportunity to provide more context if they have specific feedback on a comment they would like to give. And then finally, we move on to rating the support agent. It's not locked in stone that everything has to happen in this exact order, but just to kind of show that there's a lot more that you can get. There's a lot more information that you can get from the feedback bot that you wouldn't be able to capture with a traditional CSAT survey. And something else really cool with feedback bots is that you can start collecting a lot of other sentiment and context around maybe new features, or maybe get some information about emerging issues or bugs that may be impacting your community. And you can give that information to your other BI teams. If you have another, like, say, reporting or analytics suite that your company uses for business data, you can start merging customer support data with the business data in a way that you wouldn't have been able to with just traditional CSAT. A few of the little tidbits that I wanted to point out about that bot, can we go back to that slide again? No, the one before this one, the image. Thank you. So there's obviously a lot going on here. Most of it has to do with how many options I've provided the customer to be able to select. But some really cool notes out here. At the very beginning, it's actually going to be checking two things. One, is this customer a VIP user? And if they are, they're going to be immediately routed to the feedback experience. They get to be let in as many times as they want. Otherwise, if a customer has already reopened their issue because they said it didn't get solved, it'll go back to the queue and get attempted to be solved again. But once they do that one time, we don't want users to be able to constantly spam and reopen their issue. So we built it in so that it only happens once. It adds a tag, and then when it goes through the feedback bot again, it instead closes it out instead of sending them through a second time. I also built a branch for VIP users. If a VIP user is very upset and they say no, their problem wasn't solved, or if they give an agent a 1 star, they will have an opportunity to be escalated to a manager in that case. I think that's pretty good. I don't know if I need to really go more into that, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Jackie's going to be talking about QR code for Apple.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our QR code solution, but it's actually something very special to me, because as a kid growing up playing quite a few console games, I think the biggest frustration was not being able to get support. And it's funny that today, the only thing that's really changed is the ability to email and wait for response via email, or search forums, right, for help. What happens when something comes up with your console game and you need support? And for the longest time, this was also okay, right? Because from a business perspective, when someone's also already purchased the console game, there's not other buys that you need to keep that customer necessarily engaged and happy. You just have to make sure your next game is better. But we know that that's changing, right? Customers are demanding more. And so many of the opportunities for console games, brands, and everything of the like is in the cross-platform experience, subscription experiences. And so being able to have better support at the level that you're offering, even your mobile support, is mission critical. Next slide, please. And so our goal to be able to do this is actually a unique QR code that I'll describe a little bit more in a second. But the basic way to think about it is a unique QR code will appear on the console game, and you'll be able to just scan it. And that will improve player support, because now the player can actually seek support on their mobile device. They'll be logged in and be able to either go to a chatbot or a support page. And this will significantly reduce the effort and time needed to resolve the issues. It's obviously much easier to chat, type, get that support on a phone. It's a fully authenticated experience. So that also helps with not having to repeat any information you might have. And we've already seen that this is helping with improving CSAT, increasing agent productivity, and also allowing to scale support resources, because now you don't have to have as many folks manning email or phone, because there's some things that could be easily automated by just being able to connect to your mobile device. Talking more specifically about the technical details, if you could go to the next slide. The Helpshift support PC tool allows you to basically integrate our patented support experience link and QR code into your PC and console in various ways. Instead, this is not like what you would consider, a simple web URL, right? It has a special support link that dynamically creates a unique, secure, and contextual web experience on your phone or on the web, and it helps pass the relevant details, and that's using CIFs and metadata. Like I said, it's an authenticated experience. It also provides a universal support experience for that QR code that you can put in all of your cross-platform games, right? So that way you can actually even centralize your support. Why we think this is important is, just like any other mobile experience, the ability to help your players with personalized and contextual support is more possible thanks to being able to know where they are in the game, make sure it's an authenticated experience. You can also save previous conversations, just like we could do with our traditional support mechanisms. You can route your players to the desired places. So for example, you might want for certain support issues to route directly to an agent. You may want to direct them to an FAQ. You might want to direct them to a job, and you can do that as well. So you not only can you segment the player, but you can also segment the workflow. And lastly, you can automatically continue to collect that information while your players progress through the process and while you build out all of your different workflows. And we've already had one happy and successful client using this. If you want to go to the next slide. Our customer, Anna Yangolenko from Gameloft. I'll read this out to everyone so you don't have to squint. This solution came at a perfect time for us because we were planning several console-focused releases. So far, we've tested it on a couple of our ongoing projects, and we are very pleased with the results. We saw significant improvement across all of our main KPIs, CSAT being one of the most important and biggest improvement areas. We're planning to implement this solution in all of our main games. So that's huge props, and we're super excited that it's worked for Gameloft, but we definitely think that this could be a solution for many of our existing customers. So please do reach out to your account managers or CSMs if this is something you're interested in. It's also very flexible in when it can be adopted, either pre or post development of the game, so it's not too late if your game has already been launched. And so please reach out to us. And then we have one video that we'd like to show so that you could actually see it in action, thanks to my colleague, Greg Posner.
Hi, today we're going to take a look at the console solution for Helpshift. And this console solution includes a QR code that allows the user to go from their console to support on their phone so they can use a second screen. These QR codes can include player metadata, so when they get transferred to the support experience, it includes all the information that that player has along with them. So who are they, what segment they are, how much they have spent. In this experience here, you'll see we launched the Help Center, which now happens to go to chat. You can actually determine where you want that experience to go based on the experience you want to create for your users. You'll see this user goes through the chat as a normal experience. Again, the workflows will be defined by you, but here the user started on their console on Disney Speedstorm. They were able to move to chat so they can continue to play the game. And here they're going to be either communicating with an agent or with a bot, again, depending on the workflow that you see fit. And this is how Helpshift plans to help provide support to players who are playing on console, allowing them to continue playing the game on the console while getting support on their phone. If you have any questions or you want to see any more things in depth, please reach out to an account manager at Helpshift and we'd be happy to create a custom demo for you. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the video.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Go to the next slide. So now I get the pleasure to talk about outbound support, which is a feature that I'm very excited about, and I hope you all are too. Go to the next slide. So when we think about the world we are in today, we have two important tools or abilities to engage with your customers, users, players. The first is a customer engagement tool. So a push tool, right, that attract or retains your players. And that kind of brings folks back into your game, your app. But you don't really have any control or workflows connected to what happens after that, right? They just come in. They're not designed to solve problems. They're designed to attract players. On the customer service side, you have the ability to solve the problems of your customers, your players, but they are not reaching out proactively, right? You know, typical industry contact rates are what, 1% to 2%. So you're really only engaging with that subset that's reaching out for help. Next slide, please. And so even if you had both of those tools, there's nothing connecting this idea about what about those customers that need help but don't reach out. The ones that are likely to potentially churn because something's frustrating them, or they don't understand something, or they haven't finished an onboarding process, or maybe something's wrong with their account. Not everyone that gets to a roadblock or a challenge ends up actually seeking support. And so while we have our support teams that care about addressing those problems, have created awesome workflows to do it in an efficient and delightful manner, if no one reaches out to them, there's no way that they can actually solve that problem. And on the customer engagement side, it's great to build relationships, but if a roadblock's been hit and you don't know that that's happened, there's not going to be a connection on the other side, right? So without an ability to kind of fix that flywheel of engaging and solving when an issue arises, you're missing out on a whole group. And that's how we designed this product, is we really wanted to make sure that we could reach out to the entire group of users or players that might be using your mobile game or app. So that's the big question, is what about the customers that need help but don't reach out? Next slide, please. And so the solution we created is partnering with a push notification tool, or one that you might have yourself. And just the ones that we've worked with, Braze, CleverTap, OneSignal, or again, an in-house developed push tool. You can create an Helpshift engagement link in the dashboard to any type of workflow you want to connect it to. So anything that you want the actual workflow to execute once someone gets reached out to and comes back. So then the next step is you'll use that push tool, right, to put in that unique engagement link. You could also email that engagement link. You could do different things with that link. You don't necessarily need the push tool to get to the point where you're reaching out to someone. So in this example, you might want to check in on a next reward. But now when the person engages with that link, they go immediately to whatever you've designated as that workflow. So whatever support experience you want them to then experience based on that link, it easily gets executed in the app. And so we really like this because it gives you the ability to both segment or differentiate your outbound outreach with your tool, but also the way that you engage with that user or player once they come back and engage with that link. And the other thing that's really interesting is that it's actually really easy to integrate for developers. These links work. You don't need to do any extensive coding, and we'll be able to show that in the demo, but it's also a really simple user face that we're excited to go to the next slide, please, to talk about. So you might be wondering, okay, so that sounds great, but what am I getting from this? Why is this important? Well, the way we thought about it is we want to help players or users even when they're not initiating conversation. And this is important because think about all your VIP campaigns. If a VIP is going dormant, you want to be able to reach out to them, right, and connect with them. But if, again, there was a problem, a challenge, a concern, you want to be able a way to engage with them. You want to create a workflow that potentially connects them to an agent. Or perhaps you have a VIP that's really helpful and points out problems or concerns, and now you've come up with the solution. Wouldn't it be great to be able to have a differentiated solution to that VIP to close the loop, while also closing the loop with all your other users that may have raised that issue, a bug, a crash, or concern? We really think that this is a way that brands will be able to increase their brand equity and build trust. The other thing is when you're reaching out, you'll be able to also engage to maybe figure out what was that problem with the VIP. So it's just giving you more data, whether anecdotally or also through just what you might want to resolve. You could connect it to a survey. You could do so many things with this link. The next thing that we want to make sure that you understand is, at first you might be like, why would I proactively reach out to my players and users just to create more issues for myself? Well, the good news is you can set it up right so that you're actually proactively solving problems instead of reactively solving to issues that have been created. So if, for example, maybe there's account issues or outdated banking information that might interrupt the next session for your player or user, if you're proactively reaching out to them, they know that, so they're not frustrated and angry when they're trying to get into a game or an application and they're not able to do it. Because the thing that we do know is a majority of the dissatisfied players, so specifically over 80%, will leave and discontinue playing, most of them without ever reaching out to you if they have a problem. The last thing that we really like is this could be a great way to improve your onboarding churn. And so we do know that there's about 23% of the average customer churn comes from not completing the onboarding experience. And while you could reach out, right, a push tool could reach out to prompt someone to complete that onboarding experience, if you're curious and want to understand why they're having that challenge, or you might want to provide a guided or a differentiated experience for them, if you see, for example, that they might be someone who has engaged with your platform before or anything like that, you might want to be able to offer direct agent support. So you can see now that there's a lot of fun ways that you can actually automate not only the way that you differentiate, but also the way that you deal with your different support, your different customers. Sorry about that. Next slide, please. So we're going to be able to launch the demo real quick, and you'll be able to see it for yourself.
Hi, today we're going to take a look at a new feature on Helpshift called Proactive Messaging. Proactive Messaging enables you to start reaching out to your customers or your users to let them know about some information that's important, or just to provide some updates to them. You see on my screen right now, you should be able to see both my phone as well as Helpshift. On Helpshift, you'll see I'm in this new area called Outbound Support. In here, you'll see I have 3 different messages that I've built out so far. These are 3 different use cases that we've been working with, but you can use additional use cases as well. The first one is called Issue Resolved. This is if you have a bug that many people are reporting an issue to, and you want to be able to send a bulk update to multiple users at once, letting them know that the issue is resolved. The second one is to become a beta tester. Maybe you have a new game coming out and you want to be able to get people to opt in to become a beta tester of this game. It's a great way to be able to reach out to your users and find those beta testers. A third one is called just check out our latest help guide. Maybe you're releasing a new season, maybe there's a new update to your app and you want to drive people to a specific either section or a specific FAQ article. You have the ability to send to a specific section of the article, letting people understand, hey, this is what's new and this is how you can use it. You can use whatever use case you think makes the most sense, and I'll show you how you can build that. All I have to do is click new link up top. I can give it a name, so maybe I'll call this Bug Fix V2. And you can then choose an action. You can do a start chat, an open help center, open section, open FAQ, as we were just kind of talking about. In this case, maybe I'll just do start chat. Then you have the ability to add specific context to it. First can be that first user message. This is really great if you want to enable it to go directly to a bot or a specific workflow that you've defined. You have the ability to also add context to this. So maybe VIPs go through a different workflow than non-VIPs, or maybe you want to be able to update tags. You have the ability to mess with all that stuff to make it really a specific message for each one of your users. And then when you're done, what you can do is you can click generate link, and it's going to provide you this link that you bring to your messaging tool, your third-party push tool, to allow you to send that notification to users. As you see, I had this information here. We're actually going to use this issue resolved 2 right now, and I'll copy this link. And what we're going to actually do is we're actually going to go to my push messaging service to send this notification to my users. And for ours, what we are using is OneSignal. OneSignal is a partner of Helpshift's, and we can help make an introduction if you don't have an account, but you can also use any tool that you are already subscribed to as long as it supports push messaging. So you'll see first, we're going to be asking the user what the title is and what the message is, and I'll say, sorry, you experienced a bug. Due to this, we will credit you 5 points in the store. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see what we have the ability to do is insert the proactive link. This is the link that I copied from Helpshift. I put it over to here. And what I'm going to then do is I'm going to say, when do I want to send it? I'm going to do it now. I'm going to review and send it. And you should see here within a moment, I get a notification on my phone that shows me, sorry, you experienced a bug due to this. Right, this is the message I just created here. So what I can do is I can then click it. It's going to kick off the bot workflow to provide feedback on my platform, right? I just did a generic one on bug feedback. So I'll just say leave feedback. Maybe I'll just say something like, thanks for the update. And that's how you can utilize Helpshift's proactive notification to reach out to different users, depending on the use cases that makes the most sense for you. This was just a simple workflow we defined for this demo. But if you have any other questions or you want to get an additional, more customized demo, please reach out to your customer success manager or your account manager, and anyone will be able to help you. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you so much. Before I launch the poll, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that you can make a comment in the chat or ask any questions. It's such a pleasure to have Eric Ashby with us today to be able to answer questions. And so definitely don't be afraid to ask. He is the source of truth for all of our products and features. So please take advantage of that. I'm going to launch an outbound poll. It's really fast. We're just curious to see how you feel about the product, and also if you're capable of using a push notification. We realize that some folks may not have one or may not have access to it. So we want to make sure that we understand that for everyone that's on the call. So let me just launch that poll and take a minute to fill that out. Thank you. Oh, looks like the poll is not showing. Can you see the poll, Jason?
Yeah, I can. It popped up in a separate window.
Oh, perfect. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Currently, we have a leader, but I won't bias anyone's voting. Just take another maybe 30 seconds to see if people can fill it out. Okay, we have 2/3 of folks have participated. Just to put you on the spot, Jason, what do you think was the #1 answer for the type of tool that folks have?
Most popular answer was we don't have a customer engagement tool.
That's right.
And then next to that was in-house developed. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm going to close out the poll so we can continue. Great. Okay, so now I'd like to reintroduce Eric Ashby to talk about what's next. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Jackie. And to be honest, this is, it says what's next. It's a peek at what's next. There's so many things that we're working on, and we try to decide what would we actually show. So I think as Jackie was mentioning, by all means, please ask your questions, because I'm sure there's something that might be of interest that we're not talking about. But I did want to highlight some things that I think are interesting. that we're doing. And so if you can go on the next slide, the first one, I wanted to talk about, when we took a look, we talked earlier about, being mobile first, but not mobile only. And so I did want to highlight some of the changes that you're seeing. And specifically, I'll talk about the the left-hand side first. If you can go on the next slide. We have had social channels for several years. We've had Discord, we've had Facebook. We are expanding our social footprint. WhatsApp will be coming out fairly soon. We're in the kind of the QA stage right now, so I would expect WhatsApp to be coming out either end of this quarter, early of Q3. And you'll just continue to see that. Along with that, you're going to start seeing these actually exposed in the admin tool. So when you go in the admin tool, you go to the integration side, you'll see all of these integrations that we have. So that and that's just because what we're finding that players, consumers, a lot of them are just becoming much more comfortable with interacting with brands on these other systems. Now, that notwithstanding, the majority of the volume will still be within the in-app support, but we want to make sure that you still have that capability to interact with your consumers as they come on these other channels. So so in fact, and on that, there's actually a question that said, would an outbound link allow us to add a response to Facebook Messenger? For example, a player reaches out on those platforms. You can actually create that today. We have the ability that if you do, that if someone does reach you on Facebook, we actually have technology where you can have either a link or something like that allows you to then start to bring up the Helpshift experience. And that actually brings us into the next slide. Go on to the next slide. We have the ability to actually embed the Helpshift experience on PCs, and in fact, down the bottom you see we have the ability to embed the Helpshift experience on a console. This is a patented technology we have on the consoles where you can actually bring up a QR code. In fact, you could. This is one of the ways that you could do with Facebook is you have a QR code or a link that then takes them directly right back into Helpshift experience or into a Helpshift bot or into all of that's there. But we have that for PC, we have that for web, we have that for console. One of the things that you'll see that we'll be adding is we're actually going to be adding a Java widget that's in the future, so that makes it even easier to embed this experience, across these different platforms. So mobile first, that's where we have the primary experience, and then that's being augmented with these other channels: social, PC, web, and of course our patented technology for console, with the QR code for console, which you saw earlier in this session. So super excited about some of those things that are coming out. The next one that go on the next slide. Want to talk about this. We talked about contextual support, and so one of the things that we're introducing. You saw Smart FAQs, which is a really great experience. And what's so great about Smart FAQs is it creates this contextual experience based on the FAQ that you're in. So if you're in, Lost City or Lost Town, and you start the Smart FAQ, it'll bring up an experience around Smart City or smart, around Lost Town or Lost City. So what we want to do is we're actually enhancing Smart FAQs to be the primary contact. And we're introducing a term. We're still working on the term, but imagine that this is really a contact bot, so that when you start a conversation, you can start that conversation off very contextually. Instead of just having a welcome screen that says, "Hi, welcome to support," you can start with, "Hi, welcome, the name. We see that you're a VIP player." And so because they're a VIP player, then they're going to have dynamic content, such as Smart Intents will be dynamic. Or you can have dynamic buttons, like a special button that VIPs may maybe get a special offering. Or that they're coming in, they're asking for refunds. So you can actually have a form right from the very beginning, even before the issue is created, so that when the issue does get created, you already have all of that information. And so it creates a dynamic contact experience, so that, again, say someone's coming in from a login screen when they start support, then your question should be about login. You don't need to, you don't need to bother them with all these other questions. Be like, "Okay, I see you're on login screen. what's your problem? Forgot password, trouble logging in, things like that. And so it allows you to create a very dynamic contact experience. So this is something we're super excited about that we're working on right now. If you can go on to the next screen. So another new thing that we're working on, which is around live messaging. So mobile has had this concept of messaging for years, being able to communicate in asynchronously, be able to leave a message and come back and have that message answered at any time. It's very good. But there's times where you want to have a live communication. Like I just lost $10,000. I was trying to buy a $10 worth of coins, and I accidentally did $10,000 worth of coins. And it's personal experience from Venmo. I actually have done this before, and so I'm like, we got to fix this right now. And so what the live messaging allows you to do is allows you to take the conversation and elevate it from an asynchronous to a live. So for example, you can see here, they've started a conversation. Here, I just have a simple button that says the bot saying start live chat. When they do that, then the bot responds back and says, okay, let me get you connected to a live agent. And then you can see on the last screen, when the agent is joined, you can see it says Mary has joined live. She'll chat with you in a minute. And you can see at the top that you have a little green bar. So it's a way to escalate the conversation from asynchronous to live. And then you follow up with this, if you can go on the next screen, that, as you're chatting live, then you have this live chat, but then there's at some point that it ends, then the conversation then goes back to asynchronous. And so it's a very smooth transition. You start out asynchronous, go to live, and then you go back to asynchronous. Now, you can control when you offer this. So you could be like, this is only for VIPs, or it's only for this type of an issue, or things like that. So you have, as a brand, you have complete control over when, how, and where you want to have this offered. And what makes this powerful, you add this with the feedback bots, which we talked about earlier, and then you can actually have a lot of information about how your live support is doing and things like that. So all right, and then I think, and this is just to show you on the agent side, the agent has also some ability to know about who is requesting live, what tickets are in live mode and things like that, and has the ability to control to say, okay, this ticket is moving up to live or not. So we've been thinking about both sides of this. So we're super excited about the live capability that is coming to the platform. So I think those were a couple of the things. Oh, and then one other thing that we get a lot of questions about ChatGPT. There's no question about it that generative AI is impacting the all industries. The capabilities that AI has shown that it can do especially with the release of ChatGPT. But ChatGPT and these other generative AIs actually come along with risks also. If you've ever played around with ChatGPT or some of these other AI art tools or whatever, it's very good at answering questions, at providing creative answers or creating some interesting responses, but it can be wrong. It can actually answer incorrectly, and the information may be actually delayed, which for a support situation could actually be dangerous. And so when utilizing ChatGPT, it's really important that how it's used is very well managed. And so we've been researching and working with ChatGPT and several other generative AIs to come up with scenarios that will improve the customer experience, lower the workload on agents, but do so in a way that keeps ChatGPT in a very safe mode, make sure that it's being managed very well. And so one of the things that we're working on is leveraging Quick Search Bot with ChatGPT, so that somebody asks a question, ChatGPT was pre-trained on, or the generative AI that we're going to use is pre-trained on your existing knowledge base. And so it is very authoritative about answering from your existing knowledge base and being able to answer in a very friendly way. For example, here is a question that somebody might have about, about how did they reset their PIN? And then there's an answer. Here's a player portal to be able to do that. And so, what's nice about this is it's just a switch. You just turn it on, and you start seeing the deflection automatically and being able to control it. Now, this is one of a number of other areas that we're exploring around it. But as we explore through this, it's something that we are going to do in a way that is logical and meaningful in how it helps the brands and the consumers and manages some of the risks of this new technology, which is the way we've always taken the approach that we've always taken as new technology has emerged. Is the way we took when bots started to come out and things like that. So this is something that you'll probably see also within the next few months coming up. So there's a lot more that we're doing. I'm not sure that, again, I'm not talking about everything. We have a lot that's coming on with our translation AI that's coming down the path. We're doing things to improve management. We're doing just a number of things that we're doing just across the board. So if you have any questions, now's really the time to answer them. We'd be more than happy to get into that. Of course, Jason and Jackie, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure they can answer any questions. Also, I'm seeing that there's some questions. Are there any plans to be able to customize the Discord integration? Yeah, I think, in fact, Discord is really interesting. We are retaking a look at Discord. Discord, typically what we've done is we've integrated our messaging and our bots directly into the channel. So, so like with Facebook or with WhatsApp, someone asks a question, the bot can come reply, and it can come back and do things. Now, one of the things that we are adding to these channels, we are adding localization. In fact, that's happening right now in this quarter, so that replies will be localized, which is going to be very important. We will be adding also automatic translation, so the agents can reply in English, and then that will go back in that. So those things we're adding across the channels. So there you'll see a lot of things around Discord and things like that. But there's a question that I have is like, can we actually do more with Discord? Because Discord is a very powerful tool that goes above some of the other channels. And so we're investigating just that. So you will see across all of the channels, premium support capabilities, things like localization, bots, feedback bots, and things like that. And then on Discord specifically, we're investigating of how can we even increase the level of that. So hopefully that answered that question. All right, any other questions?
There's a question from Todd in the chat.
Okay.
Or there was.
You see it? I'm not seeing it.
It looks like I got removed, but essentially it was, do we plan on making our own CRM tool so that we don't have to, connect with third parties?
Yeah. So you mean so for identity and things like that? That's actually a very interesting question. It's we specifically have been focused on the consumer experience, on the automation experience, on the on being able to provide quick answers to consumers that have problems. As we get more and more into the customization and personalization that you saw as one of the focus, then we recognize the need to have some base CRM capabilities to be able to do that. So you will see some investments in that area. We do have to balance that, because if you saw in the poll, it's about 50-50. About half of the brands have some internal solution. Either they built it themselves, or they're leveraging an existing tool, or they don't. And so we are going to have to, whatever we build, it's going to have to be partially integrated with a lot of the brands that do have something, and then some capabilities that we'll have so that you don't have to do that. That is something that we definitely are looking at. I don't have anything that's like immediate, like right now, to announce on that. Other than I know that that's something that's a bridge that we'll have to cross. When I look about like right now, you see some things like Live and ChatGPT and things like that that are definitely pressing. So a couple other questions. Jason, did you see any other questions that came up?
No, that was the only one. You answered all of them in the Q&A section and the ones in the chat.
Yeah. All right. So if they have more questions, I'm assuming follow up with your AM, contact us through our support. You can always go to support.helpshift.com. You can always email us. My LinkedIn My LinkedIn profile is right there. There's just so many ways to get a hold of us. We have really appreciated working. I'm looking at some of the names here, and there are a lot of names that I recognize over the years that we have talked to. And so really appreciate everybody joining us today. Appreciate the time, Jason, Jackie, Eon, Christine, some of the people behind the scenes that have put into making this webinar, and looking forward to sharing kind of what's coming down the pipeline. So thank you very much.
Thank you. One last thing, I just wanted to make sure to reiterate what Eric said. Definitely, if you're interested in Outbound, or if you've gotten outreach from RPM Midroll, definitely follow up with that. You already solved 2 of the survey questions, but if you are interested in Outbound, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're very excited to work with anyone who wants to give it a shot. And Ian, I think you can end the webinar now. Yay, good job, everybody.
Everybody for joining.